Thank you for listening to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast, available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Stitcher. Also, please follow Matt's Movie Reviews on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Reddit, Instagram, and MeWe. And of course, be sure to visit mattsmoviereviews.net for the latest reviews, top 10 lists, and more. Now, on to the show.
I got a big hike planned for us tomorrow.
Can we just do some fun indoor activities?
Yeah, like drinking.
Is this still even a trail?
Wow.
How far down do you think that goes?
I don't know.
Gives me the creeps.
Let's go.
Rise and shine, sleepyheads. Where did the kids go?
They can't go far.
I'm still trying to understand how you let them out of your sight.
When we woke up, they were gone.
Guys! There you are. No. Stop! No! Jesus Christ.
Hey, Ben! Look at me.
Whoa, hey! You good, man?
How you been feeling lately?
I know what I saw.
Can I show you something in the woods?
I don't think that's them out there anymore.
I promise, we're better than ever.
This is your fault! Get out!
What did you do to your mom, Spencer?
We want to play a game with you. Ready or not, here we come. We want to play with you now.
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 497. Out now on demand and digital and streaming on MGM Plus on March 17 is There's Something Wrong with the Children, a supernatural thriller that tells the story of a weekend trip between two couples gone to hell when one of the couple's children begins to exhibit strange behaviour. An eerie and pulsating take on the creepy kid horror subgenre, There's Something Wrong with the Children also marks the latest film by director Roxanne Benjamin, who I'm glad to say joins me now on the podcast. Roxanne, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. You know, the first thing I wanted to talk to you about with There's Something Wrong with the Children is just the music in the film. Because the first thing that hits us when we watch this movie is the Sisters of Mercy and their song More. It's just really kind of an impactful, pulsating kind of song that I really think sets the tone for the music for the movie that's going to follow. How did the decision come about to have that song to open your movie? Because it's number one, not only is it such a great song, but I think it's just a perfect song for the film that we're about to watch.
I always wanted to have kind of like a goth, industrial, dark wave kind of feel to all the music that's in the film, both in the score. I talked to my composers about that quite a bit, James Berrien and Lewis Castle, who are known as The Gifted. Yes. That's what they compose under. And we've worked together on a number of different projects. And whereas like Brighton Rock was maybe more kind of, we were going through like a spaghetti Western phase. This was kind of our like goth teen phase, I think. Mm-hmm. Kind of juxtaposing nature with this very industrial soundtrack. And so I wanted the needle drops to kind of go along with that. And I'm a big Sisters of Mercy fan. So that was definitely a get. Our music supervisor, Lindsay Wolfington, managed to snag that for me, which was great. And then the closing song too, I think is a banger, is by Photocrime, which is a band on a Canadian label called Profound Lore Records. And them I just reached out to directly. I think I knew them I used to live in Nashville, and one of my friends who's like a music editor or music reviewer for like the Nashville scene had put me in touch with them.
Well, I got to say, the choice of music for opening and closing tracks has been so good. And The Gifted, like you said before, the guys do such great work, and I actually love the music in the film. Let's go back a little though now. Let's talk about how you received the script for There's Something Wrong with the Children. Because usually when it comes to the material that you direct, especially feature stuff, horror stuff, you like to write your own material. So what was it about this script that you received that was written by T.J. Synthel and David White that really spoke to you in regards to being a horror filmmaker and also the themes of the film? Was there anything that really kind of struck you that you said, this is something that is not from my pen, but something that I can definitely kind of like get into and make my own?
I think it was, there's like a number of projects that they already had at Blumhouse that like kind of fit within their production model, which is like for these TV series is more kind of almost single location horror with very small casts, very contained, and that can be shot in Louisiana. So this was one that they had. And I think once they saw that the stuff that I was drawn to was stuff that was more outdoorsy, that this was one that they had sent my way and thought might be a good fit, since most of the stuff I shoot is outdoors on the feature side. So I had a little experience with that. And then script-wise, I'd say it's the relationships of the adults in this movie I thought was kind of a clever. They feel like real people, they can be kind of snarky to each other, but they're still friends. And they have like moments of being like annoyed by things that are happening, or like, there's this kind of divide along relationship lines at one point, and they just felt like real and messy and not like the cookie cutter. Here's the parents and they're concerned, and here's the other people like that you might find in a more generic horror movie. So I was definitely drawn to like the idea of, this kind of more realistic portrayal of adults with or without kids at this age.
The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by TeePublic. TeePublic is the world's largest marketplace for independent creators to sell their work on the highest quality merchandise. With over 1.2 million designs, TeePublic is sure to have something you'll love. The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by Amazon. The world's leading online store, Amazon is your first stop to buy a wide range of products at competitive prices with fast delivery times. Amazon is also a world-class entertainment hub that includes Prime Video, Audible, Twitch, Amazon Music, and more. Sign up with Amazon today and experience the best in online shopping and entertainment. Please support Matt's Movie Reviews on Patreon. Get access to exclusive content, request movie reviews and top 10 lists, and help support my work. Please click on the Patreon link in the description below. I really like that as well, because when it starts off, there's definitely delves into like this real world tension between these two different parents. In the thing that separates both of them, of course, is one pair of parents have a couple of kids, the others don't. And the topic always comes up about wanting children throughout kind of film. Having that kind of dramatic dynamic being the kind of like the center of your movie in regards to a horror supernatural film, I think it's like really important, because I don't know about you, but my favorite horror movies are the one where there's a dramatic core at the center of it. I think you need a real world foundation at the center, and then it spirals out into all the kind of like the more horror aspects. Is that something that you like about your favorite horrors as well?
Yeah, and it's like I think about movies that like I watched that were like horror movies as a kid, and Poltergeist comes to mind as one where you're just kind of like hanging out with the parents a lot, and they're kind of like getting stoned and like talking about stuff in bed, and then even when like weird shit starts happening, they're like, whoa, check this out. It's not like immediately like, now we're in a horror movie. And I like kind of that older type, more classical portrayal of like the characters don't know they're in a horror movie, so there's like kind of real portrayals of grief and real portrayals of, some of the other situations that are going on within the movie versus just being like, oh, you think this, I believe you. Okay, on we go. And now we're, off into this horror movie, I feel like as horror movie watchers, you can get a little bit like, I don't know, almost like, well, this is what I would do in that situation. And it's like, if it really was that situation, like you would just not believe the situation is happening. ultimately,
Yeah.
like it would take so much for you actually to be like, oh shit. And that's kind of the point of this one too, is that it's like by the time anyone believes Ben and they're kind of shitty to him about it along the way, by the time anyone believes him, it's like too late. Like no one's trying to fix anything. That isn't part of the DNA of the story. Like it's more about like the character journeys for each of these characters as they're coming to realize like, uh-oh, he's not wrong.
Because a lot of things that happen in your movie, which I really like, is that it's all reactionary. It's often going with the situation that's unfolding. And to me, what makes a really good horror or thriller is the stakes that are at play. And the stakes established here are things happen in the film that really have not only drive a wedge within these two pairs of parents, but also kind of has the people themselves self-doubting themselves, like in a kind of like a psychological sense. I think that was a really kind of clever way to go about it. Something I wanted to talk about as well, you talked about filming outdoors, and the outdoors is something that's really kind of like prevalent in your films. But when it comes to the more supernatural connotations in regards to outdoors in this movie, insects and bugs play a prominent role. I don't want to say how, because I don't want to give away too much. But going back to the sound of the film, hissing and clicks are featured throughout and different kind of things as well in regards to that. Do you look into demonology? Do you look into mythology in regards to insects and bugs in regards to the supernatural, especially how it pertains to your story? Do you kind of pick kind of things that you kind of read up about or research about and use that kind of stuff within the movie that we're going to see?
No, to me, it was more about this idea of kind of like the natural world versus Margaret by the end. And so, they're in this place, but it's also like, I don't know, I get a little more kind of esoteric about it, I guess, rather than thinking of like a specific mythology, because it's been done so many times before. And whatever the reason is never like as interesting as what you kind of come up with in your own head. And like, right. I have what it is in my head, but like, even what I'm scared of and what I'm thinking of there might not be what's this, going through your head, or like what would be scarier to you. So I do believe in kind of like the not showing everything in that regard, or not telling everything in that regard. But it's more to me about the impressionistic idea of like Margaret talking about this idea of like birth and kids and family, and how that keeps kind of getting pressured and put upon her by the end of the movie. And this is just kind of another indication of that, of like the natural world and the natural of order of things. This is what you're supposed to do, and kind of rejection of that. So to her, that is the horror, is that the natural world is telling her she has to be this thing or do this thing. And society is put on top of that, telling her the same thing. And she keeps rejecting it.
Well, it's an excellent part of the film. I really did enjoy There's Something Wrong with the Children. And for everyone out there listening, you can watch it now on demand and digital. Also streaming on MGM Plus March 17. I really recommend people do check out There's Something Wrong with the Children. It's a supernatural thriller that really has a real kind of energy to it. And I love the visual aspects of it. I love the sound effects. I love the music. I love the performances. And Roxanne Benjamin, thank you so very much for your time today. Best of luck with the film's release. And thank you very much for talking to me today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content. Also, if you would like to request a review and support my work, please join my Patreon via the link in the description below.